Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today? It is actually July 23rd, 2022. And so I thought I would go live for a little bit and just share a heart to heart with you. Um, so somebody posted a comment and said that they recently lost one of their loved ones and wanted to know what some other things I did in memory of my toddler that passed away. So, in case you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Give us a like, that helps me grow here on YouTube. And if you're a returning friend, welcome back. So I am Stephanie Grahams and I own sewpreneur.com, and I actually own an LLC. It's called Sewing with Steam LLC, and STEAM stands for Sewing Together Encouragement and Meaning. And so I started sewing when I was 7, and I took a break for a few years to be a mom and go to college and all that, and never really walked away from the love of it because when I wasn't sewing, I was sketching and creating my own patterns. If you follow me any time, you will start to see those patterns online. You might have been gifted one last Christmas in memory of my daughter Hannah. Hannah was baby number 6, and she actually was born very healthy. Nothing wrong with her. She was just, we always thought of her as like a little cherub. Um, I might have just aged myself, but the cherubs in like the 1970s were these little chunky little babies, just super cute. She was a very happy baby, and so she was baby number 6, but I had lost a child from a miscarriage years before Hannah. So I still count the child I lost through a miscarriage as one of my children. Um, so technically, Hannah was baby 6, but baby number 5 was a live birth. So, anyways, Hannah and her 4 sisters. So all of my live births were girls. So birth 5 live, healthy little girls, and Hannah and her 4 sisters actually all ended up with chickenpox at the same time. And that was in Easter, actually, Easter of 2000. So I was a mama with 5 children with chickenpox all at the exact same time. I'm very thankful that there was nothing uh, terrible or horrendous with the chicken pox, because I chicken pox actually almost took my life. I had When I was a child, I had double lung pneumonia, and then back in the olden days, the hospital would put mixed children together depending on, I mean, they didn't even care, they just mixed different ailments together, and so I was housed in a hospital room with lung pneumonia, and then a child with chickenpox was put in my room. So it was a double whammy for my family, for me, and the doctor actually told my parents to prepare for funeral, that they didn't think that I was going to live. But the Lord had otherwise plans otherwise. So here I am, right? 40 something years later. So back to Hannah. So um, all of my children healed fine. There didn't seem to be anything wrong with any of them. And fast forward, so that was Easter. So that was like March or April of 2000. And fast forward to Hannah's first birthday, which was in September of that same year. And so around her first birthday, she just kind of didn't act well. She was tired. She was never fussy or cranky ever. She was just very tired. And I thought, well, maybe she's coming down with something because her other sisters were in school, and maybe they brought home like a flu bug or something. So from around September 1st, when she turned a year old, to November 26th, literally every week I had her at the doctor's office, because as the weeks progressed, she continued to go downhill. And in between those, that was like 9 or 10 weeks of doctor's visits, she would just continuously get worse. No fever, nothing like that. Just it was the weirdest, most odd thing I had ever dealt with as a mom. We spent, I don't know, hours in the emergency rooms. I said, check her for pneumonia, just figure it out. Long story short, um, November 26th, she passed away totally unexpectedly. We had about 12 hours before she passed away. We had spent those 12 hours in the local emergency room, and they were not equipped to handle children. That's very much still the case to this day with that hospital. And the ER doctor made a very bad call on the treatment of my daughter, and it took 12 hours for the one ER doctor to make continuously bad calls with my daughter's testing and things like that and treatment. At the end of that doctor's shift, a new doctor came in and immediately saw that there was an issue, a serious, dire issue with my daughter. And the mistake that the original ER doctor made was pumping fluids through an IV to my toddler. And that is ultimately what quickened her death, I should say. Um, when the new doctor came in, he had her immediately life flighted out of town to the children's specialist out of town. And by the time I got there, she was in the last stage of life. And after several tries with resuscitation, and they did bring her back twice, but by the time they were working on her the third time, my then husband, we're now divorced, and I told him to please just let her go, because there was no sign of life other than the heart lung machine basically keeping her alive. And so, how do you go from a mom of five within just a split second to a mom of four? And when you are walking out of the house with the youngest, obviously the oldest are expecting you to walk back in to the house with the youngest. And so that was November of 2001. So Hannah was 14 months old when she passed away. Now, we didn't have clear answers of what in the world had happened to our daughter, what transpired so quickly over those few weeks. And the autopsy report did show that she died from cardiomyopathy, and it was a pneumonia virus that actually she had that went undetected. So the reason the IV fluid aggravated that is because, unfortunately, because a virus went undetected, despite doctors' visits and doctors' care, the virus weakened her heart. And when they were giving her the IV fluids, it there's a word for it, but I can't say it right, so I'm not even going to try to say it. Um, it caused her heart basically to um, become like triple in size. The best way to explain it is how the heart specialists explained it. And they said, your heart is a muscle, but when it's almost being drowned like a sponge. If your heart is too weak to pump the blood and fluids of your system, it literally just soaks it up and makes the heart huge. I mean, that's just layman's terms. So that is how we lost Hannah. I don't like to say lost because I know where she's at. She's definitely in heaven with the Lord. And, I am a born again Christian and I don't shy away from that. You don't catch me preaching to you or anything like that on my channel or my blog, but I am, and that's what I stand for. So my faith was definitely um, stretched at that point in my life. So now we are in 2022, and it has been 21 years ago that my daughter passed away. And it's not something you get over. You don't get over that. you get through it. uh, there's there's different times throughout the year where I really struggle to this day with Hannah's passing. And Thanksgiving happens to be one of those because occasionally Thanksgiving lands on her actual death date, November 26th. And so that's as crazy as that may sound, that date brings back every single emotion that I felt during the last few hours of her life. Her birthday obviously brings up heartache, but joy at the same time because we celebrated her birth, right? And then you have the major holidays. But as a mom, if you have other children, there's different things throughout the year that you may struggle with, which is celebrations of the other children and their milestones, where your mind and your heart take you to, what if Hannah was, or what if, well, for me it was Hannah. What if Hannah was still with us? What would we be doing, or what would she look like today, and what kind of personality would she have? And so, those are all good things to feel. There's good and there's bad, and it's just huge, right? But today's topic is not technically about sewing business. But it is. And how does this all tie together, right? Like, what does this have to do with one another? And it's technically, it's about holding on to those memories that you had with that loved one. For me, I had 14 months of um, memories with Hannah. It's not a lot of time, right? But it's enough time for me and my mommy heart. Um, so, some things that I've done with my other four daughters, and at that time, the other four daughters were like ages 8 and younger. So they weren't all that old, and the younger children don't even remember Hannah. They have pictures and stories and things like that, which is perfectly fine. That's life. That's how it works out, right? Um, but every year for Christmas, um, including the year that she died. I mean, we already had Christmas gifts under the tree for Hannah when she passed away. So, you know, I thought I better do something to remember Hannah, because that was important to me. I want my daughters to try to remember her the best that they could. I mean, obviously they were children, little kids, but she was still part of all of us, and how our lives have been since then, since her passing. So, starting the very first Christmas, I had what I called Hannah's stocking. And Hannah's stocking was, instead of having gifts in it for Hannah that year, which I took out, I then placed a gift for each of the four sisters in Hannah's stocking. And during that, each Christmas, it's a time for us to remember, first of all, life is very short. You can live 100 years and it still not be enough time. Um, it's a time to reflect on the year, and the gifts and your loved ones, and really to appreciate what you have, um, and the people that you have, even if you're not in the best of terms with them. It's a good time to reflect. Um, we reflect on who the Lord is, and yes, He allows death to happen. I mean, that is part of the the sin nature that we have, right? Um, and if you want more information on that, let me know. But through it all, I can look back and see how the Lord has allowed this event in my life to help mold me and shape me into the woman that He wanted me to be all along. I make mistakes. I still sin. There's still a battle that we fight day to day, right? If not, lucky you. But so every year for Hannah's Christmas stocking, as we just call it Hannah's stocking, I have a little something in there for each of my daughters to open. And it has been just different things throughout the years. Um, one year it was a tiny locket, like for your necklace. Oh, I think it was a heart shape. Some of my daughters still have them, some of them don't. It's just, it's been 21 years and you can only keep things for so long, you know. Um, at one point, it was a tiny charm. It was an angel with the birthstone in it. So, and that charm could have been on a necklace or bracelet, or, just something small. One point we had Christmas tree ornaments, and I'm trying to remember what else we've had over the years. Um, my one daughter said it's just been mostly jewelry, just little trinkets and whatnot. I know when they were younger, we used to make little crafts, just little things like that. But moving forward, an idea for all of you, if you're watching us, whether you're a sewing business owner or you have a loved one that is no longer with you and you're looking for ways to preserve the memories, think of maybe making a stocking out of their favorite shirt or blanket. Or if you lost a child at birth, and my heart goes out to you as well, don't think that um, that baby doesn't count, because that baby does count. You can create a stocking, or whatever, pillow, blanket, a memory bear, your favorite stuffed animal, out of the blanket or clothing that you have or purchased for that child. Um, have it embroidered with their name and birth date and weight. Create a nice keepsake for yourself. There's really no limit to your imagination on what you can make. For heck, you know what? Make it for yourself if you want to. I know that after Hannah passed away, um, I kept what little clothes that she had, because most of her clothes were just hand me downs and things like that. She had a very limited wardrobe, uh, but because we were very, very poor. I'll just put it that way. Just there's no pretty way of putting it. We were just extremely poor um, when she passed away. So really, the material things that she owned for herself was very minimal, I should say. Um, but I kept her clothes and got rid of all of the other items, like her toys, her walker, playpen, high chair, car seat, things like that. That as soon as she passed away, I asked one of my sisters and my mom to please get them out of the house for me so I could come home from the hospital and work through what needed to be worked through for me. Um, but the one thing that they didn't touch were her clothes and her baby blankets. I had actually put those away myself when I got home from the hospital. Um, But after she passed, I would sleep with her little, this one particular receiving blanket, and they're just the tiny little blankets. We call them receiving blankets. I don't know what they call them these days. Apparently, they have different names for things these days. Um, I used to sleep with that under my pillow, and I did that for 10 years. I mean, it was a long time before I let that go. Um, It was just something that I needed to do. That's before I was introduced to memory bears and keepsake sewing. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about teaching this skill to others. I want others to realize that there is a way that you can help somebody work through their emotions. And you know, yes, you have to make money, you have to pay the bills, you have to pay your rent. And if you know how to sew, then you're halfway there, right? You have the skills, and now you just need somebody to kind of come along and help you build a business out of that without coming across as being sleazy or salesy or whatever terms sometimes some of my fellow keepsake sewers are being called. And I just want to put it out there that this is a true business and it's a true calling, because not everybody that sews can do this line of work, because there's a lot of heart and emotion that goes into every single item that you create for somebody who has a broken heart. It's not like a toy factory or manufacturing where they just have a cookie cutter mold and just spit out a product with no emotion involved. There's a lot of emotion involved. It's almost like you're feeling what your customer is going through. I can't really put it in words. I'm not that great of a communicator, I guess. I don't have fancy words or anything. I'm sometimes I'm just too so clearly to the point people take me as being rude and I'm not rude at all. Um, but I guess it's just me and my half paralyzed face that gives off the wrong emotions sometimes. Uh, but if you sew and you want to reach out and help others that are hurting, then this can definitely be a way for you to do that. I so wished somebody would have told me about this when my daughter passed away, but there was nobody to tell me this. And I had people that sew in my life when this happened. That people at church, friends of relatives, and not one person ever mentioned this to me. Not one. I never heard of this at the mommy grief support groups that I went to, in person and online. Was never spoken of ever. But we're the first ones to see, caskets, right? And the tombstones and the pick out the grave, the plot, correct? So why is there not somebody like me and you helping people through this? Why are we not loud enough? So that's why I'm here. I'm here. Yes, I will share my story. I'll share little bits here and there. I'd rather not share everything all at once. I tend to be a very private person, but um, anyways, so I'd rather you ask me questions than me just kind of, you know, scream all the time, or not really scream, but blab all the time. So if you have questions, just let me know in the comments. I do my best to answer them all. Um, I can only read English, and sometimes the translator does not work on YouTube. So if I don't answer you because it's not in English, I'm really sorry. I do try to use the translator, but like I said, YouTube doesn't always translate other language. So I am trying. I do have the free newsletter at sewpreneur.com. Go over there and sign up. Even if you don't want the business, but you want to learn how to communicate to somebody in business like I am, get on the newsletter. I give you all kinds of tips and resources. They're there for you if you want to be a business owner or if you want to connect with a business owner. Um, just join in. Please help me reach 1,000 subscribers. I'm not at 600 yet, but I'd like to get to 1,000 soon. And I can only do that if you subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and comment and share and all that great stuff. And I hope to be back tomorrow with some really good business information for you. We are getting ready to do a dive into a 4-week planner. My planner is going to be published any day now. I already sent it to the publisher. So I'm waiting for it to go live so I can share the link with you. And we will work together. You will actually be looking over my shoulder when I work on my business plans to take me through the rest of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. So come and hang out with me and ask your questions. It's Stephanie Grams at sewpreneur.com. See you guys later. Okay, now we can end it.